Yikes! Yikes, yikes, yikes. I think is what you can say about this game. But some positives to take out of this one. We'll break down this loss by the Sharks. Why the hell the Sharks start a 10:30 game after traveling across the country is beyond relief. But we'll talk about all that and more right now on this afternoon delight edition of Teal Town After Dark. Good afternoon, everyone. It is January 2nd, 2022. We hope you had a wonderful New Year. Usually the Sharks usually poop the bed on New Year's Eve, not after the New Year, but apparently they delayed things in this 8-5 loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins. We welcome you to Teal Town After Dark. This is your live interactive Sharks postgame. We're here to talk about this game and analyze it. It's going to be an interesting one, folks. So if you want to be part of the show, here's how you do it. Chat with us and fellow Sharks fans on the page or the app. And, of course, follow us on the social, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, please. Also join us on the SoundCloud, Reddit, and, of course, Discord after the show. And find everything at tealtownusa.com. I say hello to Eric Landy. Landy, hi, bud. You doing okay?
Oh, whew. Yeah, I'm about ready to go off. So why don't you get us going into this, because this is going to be long-winded.
Oh boy. All right. Let's get into it. The Sharks begin a 4-game road trip with a morning game, essentially, against the Penguins, who were playing their first game since December 19th. Let's get right at it. And so did Pittsburgh. A minute 3 in, Evan Rodrigues, his 11th, from Pettersson and Heinen to make it 1-0 Pittsburgh here. And then should I just go through all of them? Or
no, I mean, in that first period, right, 6 goals. 6 goals. Completely pathetic. And they give up 3 goals in the first 3 minutes? Jesus Christ. I mean, the worst period that the Sharks have ever played in Pittsburgh against the Pittsburgh Penguins was 91, the inaugural season, right? Mm-hmm. 8 goals in the first period. This was pretty damn close.
I was going to say, Landy, that for those who never experienced the Sharks losing 129 games in their first 2 seasons, this is kind of what it was like.
Yeah. And not only that, Eric, but it was completely lackadaisical play in the defensive zone. Not only was it a breakdown by the defenseman, because literally Nick Malash and Vlasic had their worst games in this season by far, but of the last 4 seasons, this has probably been Marc-Edouard Vlasic's worst game. And that's saying something, because he's been pretty shitty the last 5 years. Steve Reactor in the chat saying, wasn't that 15 goals in 3 games? Actually, it's worse than that, folks.
It's
25 goals in 5 games. Their last 5 games, 25 goals allowed. As a defensive club, that's like, what the F? You might as well be fishing for number 1 overall, and we might as well just break this thing down, because this is not going anywhere.
This could be one of those games where you really have to take a hard look at what you have at this point. Granted, they entered this game with outside 2 points outside of a playoff spot, so it's probably one of the worst scenarios. I think it would be a lot easier if it were just, throwing it up in the air. Like if you were tanking or you're just being awful, it makes it a lot easier to figure out things. If you're playing well, likewise. But since you're in the middle here, what on earth, that's the tough part. Gensel, Well, let me keep recapping here. Gensel from Rust and Crosby makes it 2-0 at 3:12. Evan Rodrigues at not even 59 seconds in gets his second of the game to make it 3-0. Bryan Rust gets himself going from Letang and Dumoulin at 6:09. So 4 goals in 5 minutes 6 seconds here until Alexander Barabanov gets one, and let's give him credit here. I know you're red faced already. Shoot, the Niner game's not until 1, but you're not supposed to be showing red yet. But
Oh my
but
God.
Barabanov,
Yeah,
a nice goal. To get it to himself to get on the board.
Yeah, no, and at that point, I thought, okay, maybe finally this is going to be that line in the sand. Like, okay, you know what, the Sharks are gonna finally get some momentum here. They're gonna, get a little bit going. If they can score another goal, they'll make it, competitive in that first. You go into the second period 4-2, no big deal. Well, what do they end up doing? They end up giving 2 more goals up. One within the last minute of the period, which was Bryan Rust's 4th on the season from Marino and Pedersen, and then Casper Bjorkfist before that with Zahorna and Lafredi with the assists there.
His first NHL goal.
16, first NHL goal, literally within a minute of Alexander Barabanov scoring. And that just completely that made me went from pissed off to mad to just completely like, okay, you know what, this game is already done. And I knew that once they had dug this hole, maybe they might make it interesting, but they're not going to pull it out. And again, I don't know what it is about day games. They always come out flat. But it was that plus mental mistakes and just complete idiocy, breakdown, foul coverage, whatever you want to call it in the defensive zone. It was just a mess, a complete nightmare in the defensive zone in that first period.
And the other combination too, I mean, it was a nightmare, but you have the rested Penguins who were on a roll before the pause. Before the holiday pause, and then it was ridiculous.
They were off 2 weeks. Though. Okay.
And then you have a team that's got to fly across country to play essentially a morning game, which and there's a good topic in the chat. It's a scheduled loss or not. Taco Cruiser, thank you for the super chat donation. Appreciate it as always.
Thanks, sir.
They go to help support the show and cover the overcosts. So yeah, whatever. Okay, so anyhow, so 6 goals. You're like thinking, this one's done. I mean, let's make it interesting, and go from there. The second period, and I thought a lot of things calmed down. It was we get the debut of Zachary Sachenko, but before that, is this all Reimer's fault?
No. I mean, look, it's 6 goals given up in the first period. That's a combination of both goaltending and defensive zone awareness or lack thereof. Like, this is a complete systems failure, not only on the goaltender, but on the defensive zone as well. And when it fails that hard, that means that there were multiple issues there. And so, yeah, I think there were 2 or 3 goals that I'd like Reimer to have, but it wasn't like he was getting all that much support in front of the net anyways. I mean, guys pulling out of defensive assignments, guys getting their ankles broken in the slot. Poor Logan on the 4th goal, the Bryan Rust goal, basically is just juked out of his skates, right, and literally left right dead center of the slot all alone on Reimer. you knew that was how that was going to end.
Right.
And again, not only is it defensive zone awareness from the defensemen, but it was defensive zone awareness by the forwards as well. Yeah. This is a total lack of commitment in the defensive zone. And like I said, Eric, last five games, 25 goals given up.
Yeah. And here's the thing too. You got 16 goals for in the last three. We'll give them credit for that. But 16 goals in the last three isn't going to cut it, down the road here. Alex Beltran saying, the Sharks have allowed 9 first-period goals in the 2 10 a.m. starts this season. I mean, that one, they were already on. The first one was against Boston early in the season where they were already acclimated to East Coast time. This one's a little different. And again, I think it was Russ or Rodrigues that hit the post before the end of the first period, so it could have been even worse.
So. Yeah, I think I counted two posts in the first, and then one in the second and one in the third. I mean, it could have easily, that first period could have been 9-0.
Yeah.
Because Reimer did make a few really good key saves. Sleepy Mofo, good question there. If the team knows they got to fly across the country for a morning game, why not fly out earlier to get acclimated to the time difference? Not using that as an excuse, but I'll finish that for him, but more as a question. And that's a great question. Now, somebody else in the chat was pulling out. Maybe they wanted to be with their family for New Year's. But look, Steve Rector, thanks. And at this point, this is their job. Their job is to play this game. So, look, if you want to take a flight, in the afternoon, on New Year's Day, that's good. But at this point, they've got to be looking at these 10 a.m. starts on the East Coast, and they either need to get their sleep scientist on this, or they need to figure out better travel accommodations, or what. But this is ridiculous. 9 goals in the 10 a.m. games in the first period. That's telling you something right there. But again, that doesn't tell you all of the story.
No,
I mean, it literally, Eric, the breakdowns in the defensive zone, like somebody disconnected the controller. It was like that.
And then tough breaks because one of them goes off of Barabanov's butt.
So on the Barabanov block though, and I was very vocal about this in my little rant during the intermission, because I was so pissed off at that point I had to do a Twitter space and just rant. And the problem I have with that is that they're not pressuring the forwards enough out at the points. So Barabanov clearly gives him a lane. He's got about 10 feet in front of Barabanov.
Right.
The guys need to shore up those gaps better than they are, because they're able to the opposing players are able to wind up their slap shots with little to no interference or little to no kind of sticks in the lane or any kind of defensive awareness from the guys tracking back. And it's just too much time. It's just too much time that they're giving up. And as a result, because he's given him about 10 feet of space and makes the block about 10 feet out, you're going to get weirder ricochets. The closer that you go in on that forward, the closer it's going to ricochet, and it's going to ricochet farther out into the defensive zone, closer to the blue line and not towards the red line. And again, defensive miscues, they literally were not awake. No. Like, that's all I can say is they were not awake for that first period.
No, they did not look good at all. I mean, I know Anthony's making Sharks coaches have never had the team prepared for early East Coast afternoon games. Dave Taylor, Dave, if you're in the UK, good day, sir. Game was on free to air TV in the UK. I was ready to go to take down the whole channel after the first. I think Landy's probably didn't take down the whole YouTube channel. This game's up. But So Reimer out, Sachenko in. He makes his NHL debut. Had some brilliant saves early on, where this could have been, where it really could have replicated in 1991 all over again.
I don't know. I think to me, this guy has got some shades of a former Russian goaltender that we used to know, because he definitely was making some acrobatic saves. That's for sure. The guy, I thought, was very, very good in the butterfly, moving laterally very, very quickly. And Sachenko really did kind of settle them down a little bit. But Eric, I want to ask you this: why wasn't he brought in 3-0? Was it just some trepidation from Bugner there, not wanting to put the young goalie to the fire? But I mean, the counter I have to that is, what's the matter? I mean, what's the point? I mean, like, literally, you're gonna you know what you're getting from Reimer. You know what the team is putting out in front of him. So, to me, good on you for getting him in the game.
Yeah.
But it came 3 goals too late for me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think there's like a little pressure. Is like, do I really put a rookie in against Crosby? No Malkin in this game, by the way, but you really didn't need Malkin. You had Rust and Rodrigues doing magic for you. Yeah, I think they didn't want to put him in that much of a pressure where they can build on it. I think it's still 3-0. They're still pushing on there, and everything. I think at 6-1, I think that's when it's like, okay, this is out of hand, dude. It's off the mark. We saw that kind of with Melnichuk last season. I mean, I think just calm down, let him know you're going into the second period. He has time to prepare for it and to go to town with it, and just get his mindset ready. So, yeah. And he came in with some nice saves. I mean, he stopped 20 of 21 on the day.
Oh, he kept them in. I mean, he prevented that from getting even worse, because we had said that there were some more really grade A opportunities for the Pittsburgh Penguins in that second. You started to see the momentum shift not until later into the second.
Yeah.
And really, though, that first 10 minutes of the second period, I thought, was still a lot of miscues, still a lot of dragging their feet, still not enough tracking back into the zone. And, you look at that and you go, okay, this is a kid that comes in with, comes in cold, comes in with no NHL experience, and he does that in that second period, and really just gutsy play from Sachenko.
Yeah.
And to me, I think the way in which he reacted, the way in which he kept them in that game, if keeping them in 6-1 is keeping them in, but to me, at least, this is a guy that warrants another start, and it warrants a start right off the hop, because that really showed me a lot of that character from that kid.
Yeah. So he keeps him in the game in the second period. The Sharks eventually do get a power play going, and Burnsy with the bomb, in the latter half of the second period from Bonino and Gregor. Gregor extends his assist streak to 3 games, although he's on a goal schneid. But Burnsy with the bomb that makes it 6-2. Burnsy with a goal in back-to-back games. Something to okay. All right.
Yeah, I just wish he wouldn't allow goals when he's on the ice, but
no, I said Burns, not Vlasic.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, I mean, it's just the entire decor, at this point. It's just whatever. But Bonino and Gregor doing some yeoman's work, getting the puck out, kicking it out to the point. They run their traditional point play, they're crashing the net. Burnsy he's got really, really good support there from, I think Peterson was out there screening the goaltender on that one. somebody did a really good job screening, and the team was able to. Yeah, it was on the power play. So yeah, it was Pedersen on the screen, and you thought, okay, 6-2, you got a goal against the number one penalty kill in the league. Okay, maybe some. Now we're talking moral victories, because at this point I'm still thinking that this game is lost. Yeah. So at least it's like, okay, you can hang your hat on the power play doing something. But again, where was that?
Where was that
in
earlier?
The first period?
Yeah. I think they were trapped in their own zone. That was the problem. So third period, we see Nieto getting a bounce off the boards and then bounces off of Casey DeSmith and in. Kind of reminded me of Jeremy Roenick's 500th goal, where it bounces off something off the goalie and in. But at this point, you take him what you can get, right, bud?
Yeah, and Matty, getting his second goal of the season. He's been snake bit this year, and has been doing great defensive work, on the PK.
Yep.
And down, being pretty responsible within his own zone, but the offense is just not coming for Matty.
Yeah,
and we had a couple of people in the chat going, why is he still getting time, playing time? And I have to agree with that. I mean, I think at this point, what you're gonna get from Matty, and I would maybe like to see how Bigglewatts get a turn, or something, but. Okay, now you're at 6-3, and the team is like, okay, we get one more within the first 5 minutes of this third period, and then we'll make it a game.
And that they did, and not only did that, they did it twice. Middleton pinching in, deflects a Carlson shot and in at 3:01 to make it 6-4. Middleton on a roll here, and I said it's 2 assists because they originally credited it to Carlson. They updated it after the game, so forgive the scroll here, but Middleton kind of picking up the point pace now too. I mean, I think that's 4 points in his last 3 games, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and Jacob Middleton, I mean, like you had said, we were pre-gaming just a little, going over the game, and it's like, damn, Middleton's up in the slot tipping that. And you've got Erik Karlsson on the back end, being the defensive anchor. And it's like, oh, God, if that didn't go right, you could just see that going back 2-on-1 in their own net. But the pinch worked this time. I like that Middleton's getting into the game now, getting a little bit more offensive production. He's a big body. I think he's got a decent shot. I mean, I wouldn't say it's I wouldn't say he's a world beater or anything.
No.
He's got a big frame, and if he can use that frame and can keep his stick on the ice for tipping pucks like that, he's going to get some success. And like I had said before, he's making very good breakout passes, and he's able to augment and add the physicality to the Karlsson pairing that I think Karlsson is normally used to having, right? Because he's always had a defensive stalwart with him. So
yeah.
Good on Middleton. Starting to heat up a little bit, like you had said. Seeing some good growth this season from him. I've said it all this season. I thought he was going to be an afterthought coming out of camp, kind of just being like a Jim Vandermeer type, somebody who can, drop the gloves from the back end. But he's proved to be a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Today's game, notwithstanding, but good to see that the team at least build on this momentum a little bit. And I think they come back and they score a minute later. Do you want to go through it?
Yeah. So you have that to make it 6-4, and then a little over a minute later, Logan Couture is open at the back door. He slams it home to make it 6-5, and I was saving this for later, but Anthony Sanchez in the chat was saying, pauses. We know the Sharks can score goals when we load up with Hurdle, Couture, and Meyer. Is that something that maybe?
But that's kind of like putting Taves and Kane together in Chicago, right? It's like that's literally the last ditch effort to get some type of scoring. But man, Hurdle had a rough game today. I did not like Hurdle's game at all.
Yeah.
And he gets a post in the dying seconds. But again, I thought he was not tracking very well defensively. I thought on that line with Couture and with Meyer, I thought he was the one that wasn't really driving play all that well. But on that particular goal with Logan scoring, you do get a boost from him being on the line. But again, I don't know if there's something up with him or what. If maybe the contract thing is now starting to kind of dwell on him a little bit as we get closer to the deadline. But to me, Hurdle hasn't really looked right, and I am not really a fan of loading up all the talent on one line, especially when this team already lacks depth. And it's not like you can play, that line, 10 minutes in the third period, because they're already minute munchers.
Right.
So at this point, to me, it's over reliance upon top forwards, and that's a direct indictment on the lack of forward depth.
And that would be an issue. And I would say right now, because if Hockey Jerk is watching, and I know he is, James Neal is on waivers. I mean, would you want to pick somebody up just to help him out? I don't know what his I should look up his cap-friendly hit, but is that something that could be of interest for the Sharks to pick up somebody like that? Just
well,
for
I mean,
some scoring, because
what's the worst that could happen, right? He's a waiver wire pickup. If he doesn't work out, you can just put him right back on waivers, and it not be that big of a deal. I don't know.
It's tough because you don't know where this team is going. It's the same thing we were talking about earlier in the show. It's like, where do you go with it?
Originally, I think from the organization's perspective, it's always make the playoffs. At least let's try to get in and see what kind of noise we can make, and that's always been the line from the Sharks brass. But I think pretty much you could say going into this season that the team was going to be at the very best a bubble team.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of where we all put the team, is maybe battling for a playoff spot. But right now, the lack of depth is just so apparent. When Dahlin is not scoring, when you've got a Hurdle who has been inconsistent. Timo all of a sudden has now, he got an assist tonight.
He got 3.
Oh, he got 3 assists. Okay, well that's not a bad night, but again, I'd like to see some more goal scoring from him.
Right.
I don't know. To me, Eric, there's a lot of passengers on this team right now,
and that's the question as to where do you go with this team. Right.
Cogliano, Cogliano. I mean, has had a few bright spots, but
same with
hasn't.
Bonino.
Yeah, a few bright spots with Bonino too. But still, you're trying to get them to get some clutch scoring, and you've got 10 minutes left in that game, and you're down 1 goal, and you're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. You're seeing a way to get back into this game, and there's just a lack of instinct, a lack of talent to score that last goal.
Yeah, and they pushed on with it. They made it 6-5. It was a crazy finish, but then unfortunately a penalty with 2:52 left kind of derails that. Pittsburgh scores a power play goal. Rodrigues with the hat trick to make it 7-5. Rust gets an empty netter. He gets his hat trick. I would have to say it's been a while since the Sharks have given up 2 hat tricks in the same game. It's tough to see. Logan Teal 86, asking, does Sachenko get credited with the loss on the stat sheet? No, Reimer allowed the 6th goal, so therefore he did. If the Sharks had scored a 6th goal, than it would have been on Sachenko, unfortunately, which isn't right, but that's kind of how they've been doing it for over 100 years. So, Ricky, we only saw Bedard for a couple of games, but can we stock up on 2023 first? I want Bedard so bad. Trust me, you're not wrong there, bud.
Yeah, him and what's the other guy? That's right now he's shoot. I'll pick up the name, but yeah, no, I think for me at least, Eric, this pretty telling that the team is needs to make up its mind on what it's doing. Either go for it and get some more depth, or accept the inevitable that it's time to start acquiring assets. And I think it's a mistake if they do try to continue this charade of trying to make the playoffs. You just saw what happened against a Malcolm-less Penguins team, and we haven't even played Tampa Bay yet. And I look at Tampa Bay, and I looked at Tampa Bay versus the Rangers this morning. I was watching a little bit of that game in that first period, and holy shit, they were flying on a whole nother level. And I'm just looking at it like, yeah, the Sharks are not able to play against that. And I look at the standings right now, and I look on the top teams. I mean, Carolina, yeah, they wouldn't be able to play with Carolina. Wouldn't even be able to play with Florida.
But they took down Carolina.
They did, but I think that at some point, the law of averages would state in a 7-game series, they're not going to win that.
Yeah.
And I'm now, looking over at the West even. Nashville's resurgent. St. Louis. We haven't played Vegas yet. Dear God, what's that going to be like?
And do we get Vegas when Jack Eichel makes his triumphant return?
Probably, because, that's just how it goes.
Right.
So, yeah, this team, we had kind of thought that going into the first half of the season, the team could set itself up because it was going to be very difficult in the back half of the season. But they've struggled to even set themselves up to make a fight for this thing.
Yeah.
And to me, that just screams just not enough talent.
And
it's just not enough talent.
But here's a question that we've always had before, and it's been kind of magnified with what Becker has said during the summer.
Right. Shane Wright. Thanks, Sleepy Mofo.
Whew. Yeah. is you have to remain competitive in the Bay Area. You really can't do a rebuild. That's the tough part. This is a reset, not a retool, as a rebuild.
Well, then some difficult decisions on the core is going to be needed to be made. Then,
right?
If that is really the stance that the team is going to take, that rebuilding is not an option and it's retooling and resetting every year, if that's really the stance that they want to take, then they need to make some hard decisions. And those hard decisions are I think a hurdle trade and getting the maximum amount of assets you can get back, a player that can play now and some assets for the future. At this point, you've got to look at offloading some of the defensive depth that you have, because at least you've got a little bit of strength there.
Well, who do you get rid of, or who do you try to get rid of?
At this point, I think I would circle a guy like maybe a Middleton, because he has played well, or maybe a Radim Šimić, because Sateri Hataka can do everything he can do right now.
And don't forget Knizhov when he comes back from IR.
Nikki Knizhov. And then not only that, but you have Ryan Merkley sitting there waiting to get some ice time here up in the big club.
Yep.
So, and he's on the taxi squad right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they need to be making some room on the decks here for some of the younger kids that can keep up. And on the forward side, I mean, where did Noah Gregor go?
Yeah.
Where,
I mean, for a guy who declared that he doesn't want to go back to, he wants to stay in the NHL. Yes, a 3-game assist streak is great, but you need more.
You're here to score.
and
you're here to put the puck in the net.
And defensively, there were some rough spots today. So
a lot of rough spots. And if you're bringing assists, okay, that's good. But if you're on the stat sheet, for let's take a look and let's see, how bad his night was.
Right.
So team stats here going down. Let's take a look. Noah Gregor -3.
Yeah.
So, he's got one assist, but still a -3. Yeah, that ain't cutting it. And it's not like you can say he's not getting enough time. He had 16 minutes and 27 seconds tonight. Although it says that he had 5 shots on goal, but I don't remember 5 shots on goal from him.
Yeah.
So let's see. Who else am I gonna? Well, I mean, Gadjevich has not shown much to me lately. I mean, he had a good physical game against the Flyers, but that fourth line was, for as much as we praised them the last game, they were completely invisible today.
Yeah. So some comments from the locker room. Bugner put it simply: it was ugly. He continued on to say, putting in Sachenko was a message to the team. We had to switch a bunch of lines searching for goals. I liked our battle back and compete. When you open up looking for offense, you're going to give up looks. I didn't think the Nieto call was a good call. Talking about the penalty late in the third period that allowed Pittsburgh to get insurance goals there. I don't think there are any safe leads. We didn't help Reimer at all. There's no excuse for this. Our forward 3 got caught deep. We had some mishaps and mistakes. Reimer may have struggled early on, but we couldn't cap it. The wheels came off, and we should have never been in that situation. No knock to Reimer. We have to play better in front of him.
And listen to this. This is from Carlson and Laurel putting this in the chat for us. Thanks, Laurel. When you fly across the country and play an afternoon game, 10 a.m. for us, against the Pittsburgh Penguins, this can happen. And it did. There are no excuses. What are you trying to say there? Like, you're making an excuse, but you're also saying that it's not your fault?
No.
Like, what kind of message is that?
It's basically admitting that, we knew we could let this could be ugly, and it happened to be ugly. There's no excuse for it to be ugly. We should have played better. That's how I look at that. And Laurel, thank you for the quotes. Appreciate it, my friend.
Yeah, and hope you're feeling better. Yep. Laurel, yeah, all the best from us. But again, it's like I don't see, and that's a problem that I have with Carlson. It's just this don't give a shit attitude sometimes that we get from him. It's this, oh yeah, it happened, but then again, it was a 10 o'clock game against the Pittsburgh Penguins. It's like, no, you either take a stance against the schedule and be like, hey, look, this was completely asinine and, somewhat out of our control. Or you take the other option, which I think is more appropriate here. And it was just a total lack of mental effort. And you cop to that. And yet we get this wishy-washy from him. And that's, I think that's what brushes me the wrong way with him, is that he just sometimes will have that nonchalant attitude. And it's like, do you even care? Like, I know you're getting paid and I know that you want to win, but when you're not, when you're just giving this nonchalant, like, okay, whatever, like, we'd never see Dan Boyle be like that. Like, if Dan Boyle was in the lineup tonight and then had reaction after this, he'd be pissed. I don't know, dude. That lack of killer instinct really bothers me.
And that might be part of the problem too, is that there is such a lack of killer instinct at times. Again, yes, it is an early start. And again, like it was pointed out, 9-10 goals, in the 2:10 a.m. starts that this team has had this season, not great. It doesn't help things out at all. And with it, looking at the standings right now as it stands at this moment, San Jose is 2 points out of a playoff spot still. Colorado has been overtaken by LA, who's won 2 in a row. They currently sit in the second wildcard spot at 37 points. Granted, Colorado has pretty much 6 games in hand on, 4 to 6 games in hand, depending on who you want to look at on there. And Calgary, with their COVID issues, they're sitting back. Currently, just sitting at 38 points. So, those games will come up big too. So that
Eric, I mean, I think though let's look at a couple key indicators from Colorado, because I think that there's a little bit more to the story than what's going on here. Colorado has the best winning percentage in the Western Conference. They're at .667.
Right.
And that's, to me, a key indicator of how well you're playing. Yes. But the other one, goal differential, +24. I mean, that's only third behind St. Louis and Calgary.
And
this is a team that's gonna light on fire, and they're gonna, extract LA out of that wild card spot. I have no doubt about that. I have no doubt about that. But the question that I want to pose to you is, at this point, Eric, are we better than LA? I don't think so. I don't think you can honestly say that this team is better than LA at this point.
We've definitely shown, San Jose's definitely shown their moments where they can be, but it's not consistent. I mean, let's put it in this perspective this week. You played the worst team in the league, and coming off of a 2-week break. Okay, get that. You won. Okay, you got the win, but it was 8-7. And you blew a 2-goal lead in the third period. You play Philly. You had a 2-1 lead late. You blew that lead to 2-2, won in the shootout, thank God. Today, you don't show that you're ready to go and allow 6. If this trend continues, there are concerns for this team.
I think there's already concerns for me, at least defensively. Giving up 5 goals in the last 5 games, 5 goals per game, basically. That's what the clip is at.
Yeah, I mean,
and
yeah,
you're completely burying yourselves, because not only that, Eric, but as I look at it, Vancouver is tied with us for points. Winnipeg has 3 games in hand, and they're only 2 points behind us. Dallas, again, nipping at the heels. There are at least 3 teams behind us that are within 3 points that have games in hand. This team should only be slightly better, is only going to be, it's going to be the last of the fighting teams, I think is what's going to happen. And I would not be surprised if they end up finishing three playoff spots out at this point, just based on the defensive play we've seen in the last 5 games.
Yep.
That is not a good trend.
And you need to have a bounce back on Tuesday, for sure. For sure. One thing that Laurel put in, and thank you again for the quotes, Laurel. This one hits home. Couture on Sachenko. The guys wanted to play for him. We didn't play for Reimer. Screwed him over. Didn't want to do that to Sazi. That's good, but why are you screwing over Reimer? I mean, when you saw it was 3-0 4 minutes in, come on.
And again, it's like, okay, the Bob Bugner must be seeing this on the bench. He must be seeing the effort level in front of him. Why wasn't Sachenko put in earlier? Again, I know you don't want to feed him to the wolves, but if you see that the team is just not responding for a player like Reimer, who has bailed the bacon out of this team so much this year, like we would not be fighting for a spot if Reimer had not come up in aces in the last, in the last 15 games or whatever.
Yeah.
Without him, the Sharks would not even be sniffing anything. So to me, that immediately highlights mental effort again. That to me immediately is like, okay, well, we're not we're not playing all that well, but when we put this rookie in, we really want to kind of tighten down defensively and we really want to play well now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like, again, if you already got that vibe from the team, if you're on the bench and you're the coach and you're already seeing that vibe, why would you not put Sachenko in earlier?
Yeah.
I don't know. But I'm not a coach, but I will tell you this. A quote like that to me is damning on their mental effort in that first period and their mental effort while Reimer was in net. That's damning.
Yeah. So
Ricky Barton-Slager, Eric, swear your loyalty to Team Tank. Hey, I'm on the Shane Wright train, okay? Look, that I'll take me a Shane Wright, thank you very much. Him and Eki playing together with Bordy. Beautiful. But I digress.
Here's the question for you. Can the Sharks survive 2 more losing seasons to get a chance at Wright or Bedard?
Yeah, and I would say because they have a pretty stable ownership group and they have a pretty safe arena deal and stuff. I don't think moving the team, even if they didn't draw well, you're not going to move a team after 2 bad seasons, right?
No,
I mean,
but
look how long the Raiders sucked before they left, right? And that whole scenario. But I will say this though, DW better get something going here, because I tell you what, if he misses the playoffs this year, I would not be surprised if the axe came down. And the reason why I'm saying that is because this team has not been out of the playoffs in 3 consecutive years, ever.
At the same time, we know what's coming already that the Sharks have. So there is something there down the road. We'll leave it at that, though. There are some games in progress in the NHL. Ducks lead 2-1 against Colorado, so there's that. Devils up 3-1 on Washington. No goals from Ovechkin yet, so Golden Knights are up 1-0 on Winnipeg, and Chicago and Calgary will play later. Earlier today, the Rangers shut out the Lightning 4-0. Mika Zibanejad with a hat trick. Of course he does, because that's how he is. Bruins beat up the Red Wings, the Sharks' next opponent, 5-1. Bertuzzi with the lone goal for Detroit. And 5 different goal scorers for Boston, including Eric Holla, who spells his name the right way. So,
hey, Mika's doing great this year. I mean, really good bounce back year. He's already got 30 points in 33 games. Talk about a guy who really is coming out to play for his team. And like I said, I watched a little bit of that game in the beginning, and that team was just on its toes.
Oh, yeah.
That's a team that's fun to watch.
So,
and I think New York is going to be, I think it's going to be a pleasant surprise this year for Ranger fans. But again, that's scary as shit, because I watched the first period and I'm like, yeah, if the Sharks were playing, they'd get skate right out of the building. Right out of the building. It's just a complete different animal between East Coast teams, especially two extremely skilled East Coast teams.
Yeah,
so
indeed.
That was very, very disheartening. And then, of course, you saw the result from this morning. And again, it's just, I think you need to start really smelling the coffee if you're in the upstairs booth. Like, okay, it's time to get to work, because there needs to be some moves made, and there needs to be some shakeup in this core, because it's not like you're going to fire the coach. And this team has been lackadaisical in its own end for the last 5 games. And again, we thought that this was going to be the most pivotal time going into the season, because you just look at the second half of that schedule, and it is brutal. It is brutal.
It is a big, it's a big divisional heavy. I mean, oh boy. And plus, that Anaheim game gets postponed, so you
have that too.
You have that too. You throw in Vancouver at home, you throw in there that one. So it remains.
I mean,
to be
at
seen.
the end of this month, Eric, at the end of January, this could put them at the bottom of the Pacific, not right above the Coyotes. At this point, if it goes as bad as the last 5 games have defensively, and that continues to trend out this month, then we could be looking at a team that just completely free falls.
And that's when you figure out your answer for Hurdle. So
I'm just going to leave it at that, because that's enough doom and gloom for my end.
We've had enough doom and gloom tonight. And hey, if you want more doom and gloom, wait for Pycnologist tonight at 7:00. But in case you missed anything, you don't want to watch this again, I apologize if you like that, like the pain and torture. Check us out on tealtownusa.com or your favorite podcatcher, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube. Smash that subscribe button. SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and of course always available at tealtownusa.com. So with that, Sachenko with the 3rd star of the game. That's cool. He played pretty well in recovery and making an interesting game.
Tips off to the scorer to the scorer's box over in Pittsburgh, because that's not normal for them to call out players like that. They're notorious for overinflating hits and kind of being a little douchey with the stars. So good to see that, and then a very good gesture. And like we had said, I mean, Sazi had some really, really good saves, and I think to me he bought himself a start.
Yeah,
with that gutsy play.
Will he start Tuesday in Detroit? That remains to be seen, but I'm curious if he gets something down the road. Maybe Buffalo. Who knows? So we'll see on that one. But that'll do it for us. Again, Pycnologist tonight at 7 p.m. right here on the YouTube channel. So hit that notification bell when you subscribe. That'll notify you when Pycnologist goes on the air. That'll do it from here. Landy, as always, thank you, my friend. Your final thoughts and where the people can find you.
Go watch some football, I guess. Let's see if I can extract any ounce of happiness in my sports life today.
Oh,
God. But no, in all seriousness though, I mean, we just gotta watch the train wreck, right? And we just gotta see where this thing is gonna go. And if they continue to play like this, there's gonna be some really, really emotional moves that are gonna have to be made. And I'm not looking forward to it, but we'll see. We'll see how it ends up. As far as where you can find me, you can use my first name, IK, LANDI, and all the social media garbage.
All right. I'm at PuckGuy14 on the Twitter and Instagram. Shout out to Dave Taylor watching us in the UK. Good to watch live for the first time in a while. Hey, there's a silver lining for something, right? We will be back with you tonight for Pycnologist. AJ and Jerk will recap the week that was in Sharks hockey. We will be back with you Tuesday following Sharks and Red Wings. That is a 4?
4:30 start.
30 start. See how I stretch that out and make it sound really smooth. 4:30 start with the classic rival with the Red Wings. I appreciate it, man. For Landy, I'm Puck Guy. Have a great one. Until next time, keep it real, keep it teal, keep it real teal. Thank you for watching. See you for Pucknologist tonight at 7. Have a good night.